My parents demanded I let my struggling brother and his family live in my second property rent-free indefinitely. "IT's your duteous family, he needs IT more than you," my mother insisted. When I refused their entitled demands, they arrived with a locksmith to force entry, but their faces turned ashen when I revealed the real name on the property deed. The thing about family dinners is that they're never really about the food. They're elaborate traps disguised as pot roast and small talk, especially in my family. I should have known better than to accept my mother's invitation. But here I was watching the familiar drama unfold over Helen's famous lasagna. "Did you hear about Clyde?" My mother's voice carried that practiced tone of concern she'd perfected over the years. "They're being evicted next month." I kept my eyes on my plate, pushing a piece of garlic bread around. "That's terrible," I said, knowing full well what was coming next. "It is terrible," my father Dexter chimed in, right on cue, "especially when there are perfectly good solutions available." The silence that followed was heavy with expectation. I could feel their eyes on me waiting. "I'm Livia, by the way, the family ATM, eternal disappointment and, apparently, the solution to all of my brother's problems. That second condo of yours is just sitting there." My mother continued reaching for her wine glass. "He has children, Livia. Your niece and nephew need a home." I set down my fork. "The condo isn't sitting empty, Mom. Ariel's been renting it for the past year. She's a great tenant, and that property is part of my retirement plan." "Plans can change," my father said sharply. "Family comes first." I took a slow sip of water, buying time. "Clyde makes twice what Ariel does. If he hadn't quit his last 3 jobs, don't you dare judge your brother." My mother's voice cracked like a whip. "He's trying his best. Unlike some people, he didn't have everything handed to him on a silver platter." I almost laughed at that. Everything handed to me? I'd worked 2 jobs through college, built my real estate portfolio from scratch, while Clyde, I can help him look for apartments in his price range, I offered. "Or maybe he could move in with you guys temporarily." "Absolutely not," my father cut in. "Your mother and I need our space. Besides, that's not the point. You have an extra property. You're single, no children. What do you need 2 homes for? Investment, security, future." I counted off on my fingers. "The same reasons anyone. Listen to yourself." My mother's eyes welled up with tears. "Right on schedule. So cold, so selfish." "What happened to you, Olivia? Where did we go wrong?" I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. "I should go. Thank you for dinner." "Sit down," my father commanded. "We're not finished discussing this." "Yes, we are." I grabbed my purse. "The condo isn't available. I'm sorry about Clyde's situation, but I can't or won't." My mother's voice had turned ugly. "Your brother would give you the shirt off his back. Funny. Since he still owes me $3,000 from last Christmas." I made it to the hallway before my mother's voice stopped me. "If you walk out that door, don't bother coming back." An empty threat. She'd used it at least a dozen times before. I turned to face them one last time. "I love you both, but my answer is no." I was halfway to my car when I realized I'd forgotten my phone on their kitchen counter. Cursing under my breath, I turned back. The side door was always unlocked, and I could slip in quietly to grab it. But as I approached, I heard voices through the window. "We can't believe she's doing this to us," my mother's voice thick with tears. "Don't worry." That was Clyde. When had he arrived? "I talked to that guy I know. He says we can handle this ourselves. She thinks she's so smart with her precious investment property." "Are you sure?" "My father now. If she finds out, she won't." "Trust me. By next week, this will all be sorted out." One way or another, I backed away from the window, my heart pounding. Whatever they were planning, it couldn't be good. I'd seen that determined tone in Clyde's voice before, right before he borrowed my car in college and totaled it, claiming it was stolen. My phone could wait. I needed to make some calls of my own. As I drove home, my hands were steady on the wheel even as my mind raced. They thought I was the selfish one? Fine. They wanted to play games? Okay. But this time, I wasn't going to roll over and take it. This time, I was going to be ready for whatever they threw at me. Because the thing about family dinners is that they're never really about the food. Sometimes, they're declarations of war. 3 days after the dinner from hell, my phone buzzed during a client meeting. Seeing Ariel's name flash across the screen, I excused myself to take the call. "Livia, I'm so sorry to bother you, but there's someone here trying to get into the condo." Her voice trembled. "They have a locksmith with them. They're saying it's family property and call the police. Now I'm on my way. I broke every speed limit getting there." By the time I pulled up, a patrol car was already parked outside, and there they were, my father and Clyde standing with a bewildered-looking locksmith, while 2 officers took statements. "There she is." Clyde pointed at me. "Tell them, Livia. Tell them this is a family misunderstanding." I walked straight to the officers. "I'm the property owner. These men were attempting to break in and change the locks while my tenant is still legally occupying the unit." "That's a lie," my father shouted. "This property belongs to the family. We have every right." Show them the paperwork then, I challenged, pulling out my phone. Meanwhile, I have the deed right here along with the current lease agreement. One of the officers, a woman with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor, reviewed my documents. Ma'am, would you like to press charges? I looked at my father's reddening face, at Clyde's poorly concealed panic. Not today, but I want this incident documented. After the officers left, taking the locksmith's information for their report, Clyde stepped toward me. You've really done it now, sis. Mom's going to what? I cut him off. Going to cry, manipulate, threaten? Tell me, Clyde, how's that working out for you so far? This isn't over, my father growled. Actually, it is. I turned to Ariel, who stood nervously in the doorway. You okay? She nodded. I got everything on video just in case, our house-smart girl. I smiled at her before facing my family again. Let me make something crystal clear. This property isn't just in my name anymore. It's in an irrevocable trust. Do you know what that means? The blank looks on their faces said it all. It means you can't touch it ever. Not through guilt, not through lawyers, not through locksmiths. So unless you want to add criminal charges to your growing list of problems, stay away from my property and my tenant. You planned this, my father accused, his voice low and dangerous. You knew we'd need help, and you made sure we couldn't get to it. Your own family. Actually, Natalia suggested the trust 6 months ago. I thought back to that conversation with my financial advisor and best friend. Your brother's been asking about your properties, she'd said over coffee, and your mom's been calling my office trying to get information about your accounts. You need to protect yourself. I'd laughed it off then. They're annoying, but they wouldn't actually try anything. Trust me, she'd insisted, I've seen this before. Family can be ruthless when money's involved. Let's set up the trust now before you need it. Standing here now, watching my father and brother seethe with thwarted entitlement, I silently thanked Natalia for her foresight. You've changed, Clyde spat. You used to care about family. I still do. That's why I'm not pressing charges, but this is your only warning. Come near my property again, and I'll bury you in legal fees so deep. You'll need more than Mom's tears to dig you out. They left, but not before my father turned back. Your mother will hear about this. You've broken her heart. Better her heart than my bank account, I called after him. Once they were gone, Ariel hugged me. Thank you. I was so scared when they showed up. You did exactly the right thing by calling me. I checked the security cameras I'd installed after the dinner incident. Send me that video you took, okay? Just in case. Back in my car, my phone pinged with a text from an unknown number. You actually think you're safe? Check Clyde's financials. You're not the only one he's trying to screw over. I stared at the message, my hands shaking slightly. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to believe this was the end of their schemes, but I knew better. This was just the beginning. I pulled up Natalia's number. Hey, remember when you said I might need a good private investigator someday? I think that day just arrived. Because the thing about family, sometimes protecting yourself from them is a full-time job. Jessie Black's office looked exactly like you'd expect a private investigator's workspace to look. Organized chaos of files, multiple monitors and coffee cups everywhere. She scrolled through documents while I tried to process what she just told me. Run that by me again, I said, leaning forward. You're saying Clyde already had money? Had being the operative word. Jessie turned one of her monitors toward me. Your grandfather left him a substantial inheritance 5 years ago, nearly $500,000. My coffee went cold in my hands. That's impossible. They've been crying poverty for years. Clyde's always borrowing money, saying they can barely afford groceries. Oh, he burned through it fast enough. Jessie pulled up bank statements, casino withdrawals, failed business ventures, luxury car leases. But here's where it gets interesting. She pointed to a series of transfers. These went to shell companies registered under your father's name. The room seemed to tilt. My father's involved? Deeply. Look at these dates. More documents appeared on screen. Every time Clyde made a major withdrawal, a corresponding amount would show up in one of your father's business accounts, usually disguised as consulting fees. But why would they hide this from me? They're always asking for the realization hit like a slap. They didn't want me to know they had money when they were begging for mine. Bingo. Jessie sat back. And there's more. Your father's been moving retirement funds through these same shell companies. From what I can tell, he's naming Clyde as a silent partner to avoid some pretty serious tax implications. My phone buzzed. A text from Natalia. Your mother and father just showed up at my office. They're making a scene. I have to go, I told Jessie, standing up. Send me everything you have and keep digging. I made it to Natalia's office in record time. The receptionist's wide eyes told me everything I needed to know. They're still in there, she whispered. Should I call security? Through the glass walls, I could see my parents facing off with Natalia, who maintained her professional calm even as my mother gesticulated wildly. I pushed open the door in time to hear, "How dare you help her betray her family like this?" "This is a place of business," Natalia said firmly. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Not until you undo whatever you did with that trust, my father demanded. You turned our daughter against us. No, I announced from the doorway. You did that all by yourselves. They spun around. My mother's face crumpled into her practice victim expression. How could you humiliate us like this, making us look like criminals in front of the police? Funny you should mention criminals. I pulled out my phone, pulling up the documents Jesse had just sent. Want to talk about Grandpa's inheritance? The one Clyde burned through while still begging me for money? The color drained from my father's face. Where did you, or maybe we should discuss your shell companies, the creative accounting. I wonder what the IRS would think about you wouldn't dare, my father growled, taking a step toward me. Natalia's hand moved to her desk phone. Sir, step back or I'm calling security. We're leaving, my mother announced, grabbing my father's arm. But this isn't over, Olivia. You think you're so clever with your investigations and your trust, but you have no idea what you're doing to this family. I know exactly what I'm doing, I replied. I'm finally seeing it clearly. After they stormed out, Natalia hugged me. I'm so sorry, I never thought they'd show up here. I'm the one who's sorry, but thank you for everything. You were right about the trust. Don't thank me yet. She looked worried. They're desperate now. Desperate people do stupid things. My phone chimed with a voicemail notification. Lindsay's name appeared on the screen. I played it on speaker. Livia, please. My sister-in-law's voice broke with sobs. Clyde's talking about hurting himself. He says he can't take the shame, the pressure. If anything happens to him, it'll be your fault. His blood will be on your hands. Please just give him the property before it's too late. I deleted the message, my hands steady despite the rage building inside me. They're trying to manipulate you, Natalia said softly. I know. I gathered my things, and they just made a huge mistake. What are you going to do? I thought about the inheritance, the shell companies, the years of lies and manipulation. They want to play dirty? Fine. Let's see how they handle it when I stop playing nice. Because the thing about manipulation, it only works until your target decides they're done being manipulated. Lindsay's voicemail haunted me for exactly 6 minutes, the time it took to drive to Flynn's law office. My attorney was already waiting. Documents spread across his desk like battle plans. Your brother's suicide threat, Flynn said, reviewing the voicemail I'd forwarded. Classic emotional extortion. We're documenting everything. Should I be worried? I asked, thinking of Clyde's theatrical tendencies. About his safety? No. About what this reveals about their tactics? Absolutely. Flynn pulled up a file on his computer. They're escalating. First, physical intimidation with the locksmith, now psychological warfare. We need to move fast. Natalia arrived with a stack of financial records. You're going to want to see these, she said, spreading them across Flynn's desk. Dexter's been busy. Look at these transfers. I leaned in, scanning the documents. These dates, they line up with every time I refuse the money. Exactly. Natalia pointed to specific transactions. Every time you said no, they moved funds between accounts. They were never desperate. They were hiding assets. My phone buzzed. Ariel again. Livia, Clyde, and Lindsay are outside the building. They're telling everyone I'm squatting in their property, that you stole it from them. Stay inside, I ordered. I'm calling the police. Flynn held up a hand. Wait. Let's use this. Record everything they say. We need to establish a pattern of harassment. An hour later, I had what I needed. Video footage of Clyde screaming at my tenant, Lindsay dramatically sobbing about their homeless children, and multiple witnesses to their behavior. Perfect, Flynn said, reviewing the footage. Now about those financial records. My phone rang again. Unknown number. Miss Summers, a stern voice asked. This is Capital One Fraud Department. We're calling about some unusual activity on your account. My blood ran cold as the representative detailed thousands in charges, all under my name, all authorized with my social security number. I never opened that account, I said, putting the call on speaker. The application was submitted last week, the rep explained. With all your correct information, Flynn was already typing. Identity theft. Add it to the list. After the call, I sat in stunned silence. Natalia squeezed my shoulder. You okay? They used my social, I said quietly. My own family. This is good, Flynn interjected. Well, not good, but useful. Identity theft is federal. They've crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. What's our next move? I asked. We go nuclear. Flynn pulled out a fresh legal pad. First we file fraud charges, then we prepare a civil suit detailing everything, the harassment, the financial crimes, all of it. But most importantly, he smiled grimly. We make it public. Public? My stomach lurched. They're counting on your silence, Natalia added. On your shame. Break that, and their power crumbles. My phone chimed with a text from Lindsay. Hope you're happy. Clyde's in the hospital. This is all your fault. I showed it to Flynn, who immediately started typing on his phone. Checking local hospitals. Nothing. No admissions under his name in the last 24 hours. Another lie. That's it. I stood up, anger finally overwhelming caution. I'm done playing defense. What are you thinking? Natalia asked. They want to destroy my reputation? Fine. Let's see how they handle having their own dirty laundry aired out. I turned to Flynn. How quickly can we file those charges? Give me an hour. Good. Natalia, get me everything you have on Dexter Shell Companies. Everything. Already compiled. I pulled out my own phone, opening my email. I'm sending everything to Jessie. Let's see what else she can dig up about their finances. Livia, Flynn cautioned. Once we start this, there's no going back. They're family. No. I cut him off. Family doesn't commit fraud in your name. Family doesn't threaten and manipulate. Family doesn't. My phone rang again. This time, it was the police. Ma'am, we're responding to a report of suspicious activity on your credit. Multiple accounts opened in your name, totaling over $50,000 in charges. I put the phone on speaker, letting Flynn and Natalia hear every detail. With each new revelation, my resolve strengthened. They hadn't just crossed a line. They'd obliterated it. File everything, I told Flynn after the call ended. Every charge, every threat, every lie, no more protecting them. Because the thing about family secrets, sometimes the only way to break their power is to drag them into the light. As I left Flynn's office, another text came through, this time from an unknown number. You think you're untouchable with your fancy lawyer? Wait until you see what's coming next. I smiled, screenshot the message and forwarded it to Flynn. Let them come. This time, I was ready. I found Clyde waiting in my office parking lot the next morning. He looked terrible, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, wearing the same martyred expression our mother had perfected. We need to talk, he said, pushing off his car. About the credit card fraud? I kept walking. Or about faking a suicide threat? He followed me to the building entrance. It wasn't supposed to go this far. Mom and Dad, they said. Stop. I turned to face him. Just stop. I've seen the financial records, Clyde. I know about Grandpa's inheritance. His face went slack. How did you $500,000? I said, watching him flinch. You had $500,000 while begging me for rent money, while letting Mom guilt me about your struggling family. You don't understand, he stammered. Dad said we needed to invest it in his business ventures. He promised it would triple, and the credit card's in my name. Was that Dad's idea too? He looked away. We were desperate. Desperate? I laughed bitterly. You were desperate after blowing through an inheritance that could have bought you a house? After helping Dad commit tax fraud? Keep your voice down. He grabbed my arm. I jerked away. Don't touch me ever. What do you want? His voice cracked. Money? Fine. I'll pay you back. Just drop this whole investigation thing. You're going to ruin everyone's lives. You did that yourself. I pulled out my phone, showing him the fraud report. I filed this morning. The police are involved now. All color drained from his face. You can't. Lindsay's pregnant again. If I go to jail, you should have thought about that before stealing my identity. I started to walk away, then turned back. Oh, and Lindsay's not pregnant. I called her doctor's office pretending to confirm an appointment. Nice try though. It was Mom's idea, he blurted out. The credit cards, the pregnancy story, all of it. She said you'd never find out. We were desperate. You keep using that word. I cut him off. I don't think it means what you think it means. Please, he begged. I'll tell you everything about Dad's schemes, Mom's plans, all of it. Just drop the charges. I studied him. My big brother, the golden child, now reduced to bargaining in a parking lot. You know what's funny? For years I thought I was the family failure, the cold, selfish one who didn't care enough. But look at us now. My phone buzzed, Jesse's number. Your father's being audited, she said without preamble. IRS is looking into those shell companies. They're going to find everything. I watched Clyde's face as I replied, good, send me the details. Livia, he pleaded, think about what this will do to Mom and Dad. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about every Christmas they made me feel guilty for my success. Every time they called me selfish for not sharing with you. Every manipulation, every lie, a memory hit me. Being 16, winning a scholarship. Mom barely looked up from fawning over Clyde's C+ in math. That's nice, dear, she'd said, but your brother really applied himself. My phone chimed again. A text from Natalia. Your mother just showed up at my office again with CPS. What? I said aloud. She's claiming you're endangering Clyde's children by forcing them into homelessness. They want to investigate you for child endangerment. I showed Clyde the message. Child endangerment? Really? He had the decency to look ashamed. I didn't know she was going to save it. I walked toward the building entrance. Tell Mom her little CPS stunt just cost her any chance of mercy. I'm done playing nice. What are you going to do? I swiped my keycard, letting the door close between us. Watch the news. I'm sure you'll find out. Inside, I called Flynn. How quickly can we go public with everything? Give me an hour to prepare the press release. Do it. I sat at my desk, hands steady as I typed an email to Jessie. And, Flynn, make sure everyone knows exactly who the real victims are in this story. Because the thing about family drama, once it goes public, there's no controlling the narrative. and I was done letting them control mine. My phone lit up with another text from my mother this time. CPS is just the beginning. Back off now, or you'll regret it. I screenshot the threat and forwarded it to Flynn. The war was fully on now, and I intended to win it. The CPS workers looked as uncomfortable as I felt, sitting in my living room while I presented lease agreements, tenant records and security footage proving that Clyde had never lived in my property. As you can see, I explained, pulling up Ariel's rental history, this unit has been continuously occupied by other tenants. My brother has his own residence across town. The senior investigator, a tired-looking woman named Sandra, reviewed the documents. This appears to be a misunderstanding, or she glanced meaningfully at my mother who sat rigid on my couch. A deliberate false report. This is ridiculous, my mother snapped. She's twisting everything. Those poor children, Mrs. Summers, Sandra interrupted. Filing false reports is a serious offense. We're here to protect children, not to be used as a weapon in family disputes. Weapon. My mother's voice rose. You want to talk about weapons? Look at her. She jabbed a finger at me. Sitting there with her precious documents are her perfect life while her family suffers. You always were the problem, ugly little girl. You'll die alone. You know that? No one could ever love someone so cold. Ma'am, Sandra stood up. This interview is over. She nodded to her colleague who was already recording my mother's outburst on his tablet. We'll be noting this behavior in our report. After the CPS workers left, my mother remained trembling with rage. You recorded that. You recorded me. Actually, my security system did. I gestured to the discreet cameras in my living room corners, the same system that caught Dad and Clyde trying to break into my property, the same one recording you right now. You think you're so clever? She stepped closer, her face twisted. You have no idea what's coming. We raised you, gave you everything. You gave me trauma, I corrected. Manipulation, guilt, a lifetime of feeling never good enough because I wouldn't play by your rules. Rules? She laughed sharply. You want to talk about rules? Check your phone. As if on cue, my phone buzzed, a Reddit notification. My stomach dropped as I opened it. There, trending on Rami the asshole, was a post from Clyde, a TA, for asking my heartless sister to help save my children from homelessness. The post was everything you'd expect. A masterpiece of manipulation, painting me as a monster who'd rather see children on the street than share my empty property. It already had thousands of upvotes, hundreds of comments calling me every name in the book. Social media is a funny thing, my mother smirked. People love a good villain story. I looked up from my phone, suddenly calm. You know what's funnier? Evidence. I opened my laptop, turning it to show her the folder I'd been building, financial records, audio recordings, security footage, text messages, emails, everything documenting their months of harassment and fraud. I was going to handle this privately, I said, watching her face pale. But you just made it public. So let's give the internet what it really wants, the truth. You wouldn't dare. Try me, I started typing. Should I start with the inheritance Clyde blew through, Dad's tax fraud, the credit card theft, or maybe your false CPS report? I'll deny everything. With what evidence? I gestured to my cameras. Every threat you've made is recorded, every lie documented, and every scheme exposed. She grabbed her purse, hands shaking. This isn't over. Actually it is. I stood up. You wanted a public fight? Congratulations, you got one. After she left, I called Flynn. How quickly can we respond to Clyde's Reddit post? Already drafting it, he said, with links to all the evidence. Once this goes live, their whole house of cards collapses. I finished. Do it. I walked to my window, watching my mother's car speed away. My phone buzzed again, Natalia this time. You okay? She asked. No, I admitted. But I will be. The truth always comes out, she said softly. Sometimes it just needs a push. I looked at my laptop, at the folder containing years of evidence, at Clyde's viral Reddit post attempting to destroy me. One click would change everything. One post would expose every lie, every manipulation, every crime. My finger hovered over the mouse. Part of me still hesitated. They were family after all. Then my mother's words echoed. Ugly little girl, you'll die alone. I clicked post because the thing about family, sometimes the only way to heal is to let the whole world see exactly who they really are. The truth was out now, and there was no taking it back. My response post went viral within hours. The internet, it turns out, loves a good revenge story, especially one with receipts. Every document, every recording, every piece of evidence laid bare for the world to see. Your post just hit the front page, Natalia said, refreshing her screen. The comments, people are sharing similar stories. You've started something. My phone hadn't stopped ringing. Local news, online journalists, podcast hosts. Everyone wanted the full story. Clyde's original post was deleted, but screenshots lived forever, now side by side with the truth. Miss Summers, a reporter caught me outside the courthouse. Can you comment on your father's arrest? I turned to face the cameras. Everything I have to say is in the evidence I provided to authorities. But how do you feel about how do I feel? I interrupted, surprising myself. I feel relieved. The truth is finally out. Financial abuse is still abuse. Family manipulation is still manipulation. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is say no more. Inside, Flynn waited with updates. Your father's being charged with tax evasion and fraud. Clyde's facing identity theft charges. Your mother, he checked his notes. The false CPS report is being investigated. And Lindsay left town last night, posted a long Facebook statement distancing herself from everything. Smart woman finally. My phone buzzed, a text from Jessie. You need to see this. She'd forwarded a link to a local community Facebook group. There was my mother posting a tearful video about her mentally unstable daughter destroying the family. Don't worry, Jessie added. I've got screenshots of her deleting comments that expose her lies. The next few days passed in a blur. More evidence emerged as others came forward. Former business partners my father had cheated, distant relatives who'd been scammed, old friends who'd witnessed the manipulation. Your story inspired my daughter to finally stand up to her abusive in-laws, one message read. I thought I was alone in dealing with financial abuse from family, said another. Thank you for showing me I'm not. A week after my post, I stood outside the courthouse again. My father had just been denied bail, flight risk, given the offshore accounts Jessie had uncovered. Was revenge worth it? A different reporter this time, holding out her microphone. I looked directly into the camera. This isn't revenge, this is justice. This is saying enough to years of abuse disguised as family obligation. This is showing others they don't have to accept manipulation just because it comes from people who share their DNA. My phone lit up with a notification. Clyde had posted again, this time a confession. Everything my sister said was true. I'm sorry, I need help. Later that evening, sitting in Flynn's office, we reviewed the aftermath. Your father's facing serious time, he said. The IRS doesn't play around. Clyde's agreed to testify against him in exchange for a lighter sentence. Your mother, he sighed. She's been served with restraining orders from 3 different people who came forward with harassment claims. And the condo, safe in the trust. Though given everything that's come out, I doubt they'll try anything else. My phone buzzed. Ariel, just wanted you to know I'm moving out next month. Saved enough for a down payment on my own place. You inspired me to stop waiting and take control of my life. That night, I drove past my parents' house, dark now, empty. My mother was staying with her sister who'd posted a long rant about family loyalty that backfired spectacularly when someone shared screenshots of her own financial schemes. Natalia called as I pulled into my driveway. You trending again? Apparently. I unlocked my door. Did you see Clyde's confession? Yeah. Think he means it? Doesn't matter anymore. I settled onto my couch feeling the weight of the past weeks. It's out of my hands now. The truth is doing its job. Any regrets? I thought about my father in his cell, my mother's tearful videos, Clyde's fall from grace, only that I didn't do it sooner. Because the thing about karma, sometimes it needs a witness. Sometimes the best revenge isn't plotting in secret, it's simply standing in the light and telling the truth. My phone lit up one last time, another message from a stranger. Your story gave me courage. Tomorrow I'm finally telling my family no. I smiled, typing back, the truth will set you free. But first, it'll piss everyone off. And sitting there in my quiet house surrounded by the aftermath of justice served, I felt nothing but peace. The silence in my condo felt different now, peaceful instead of lonely. I was sorting through old family photos when Ariel knocked on my door, holding a small gift bag. I know I still have 2 weeks left on the lease, she said, stepping inside, but I wanted to give you this before I moved out. Inside the bag was a framed quote. Sometimes the family we choose is stronger than the family we're born into. Thank you, I said, genuinely touched, and congratulations on your new place. I couldn't have done it without you showing me what standing up for yourself looks like. She hesitated. Have you heard from them? A letter came from my mother this morning. I nodded toward the unopened envelope on my coffee table. Haven't decided if I'm reading it. My phone buzzed. Natalia, turn on channel 7. Now. I grabbed the remote. There on screen was my father in his prison jumpsuit being led into court. The headline scrolled, Local businessman pleads guilty in tax fraud scheme. In a surprising development, the reporter said, Dexter Summers has agreed to a plea deal implicating several business associates in a years-long financial fraud operation. Ariel squeezed my hand as we watched. You okay? Better than okay. I muted the TV. It's finally over. My phone lit up again, this time with a message from Lindsay. I filed for divorce today. You were right about everything. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. Speaking of over, Ariel said, I heard your story is being featured in that documentary about financial abuse in families. They're interviewing me next week. I picked up my mother's letter. Want to witness me either making or regretting a decision? Open it. The letter was exactly what I expected. 3 pages of guilt, blame, and zero accountability. You've destroyed this family, she wrote. I hope you're happy in your empty life with your empty victory. I handed it to Ariel, who read it and shook her head. She still doesn't get it. No, I agreed, taking the letter to my fireplace. But I finally do. As the pages curled and blackened in the flames, my phone chimed with an email notification. The subject line read, "Thank you for saving my life." Dear Livia, it began. I was going to give my manipulative family my entire retirement fund, because family helps family. Then I read your story. Today, I said no, they're furious, but I'm free. Thank you for showing me the way. Ariel read over my shoulder. You've started a movement, you know. People are waking up, maybe that's what this was all about. I gestured to the burning letter. Not revenge, not even justice, just truth. My doorbell rang. Natalia stood there with takeout bags. Thought you might need dinner and a friend tonight. As we ate, more messages poured in. Stories of courage, of boundaries set, of freedom found. Each one a reminder that the price of truth, however heavy, was worth paying. I have something to show you, Natalia said, pulling out her tablet. Remember that post you made about turning pain into purpose? She pulled up a website, Financial Freedom from Family Fraud, a resource center for people dealing with family financial abuse. It launches next week, she explained. People need guidance, support, legal resources. Your story showed us that. I stared at the screen, at the tagline, because love shouldn't cost you everything. This is perfect, I whispered. My phone buzzed one last time. Jesse, just got word. Your mother's sister is under investigation too. The whole house of cards is falling. Ariel raised her glass. To karma, to truth, Natalia added. To freedom, I finished. Later, after they'd left, I walked through my quiet home. The photos I'd been sorting still lay scattered. Memories of a family that never really existed except in carefully staged pictures. I gathered them up not to hide or burn, but to keep. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying the past, it's building a future that makes that past irrelevant. Opening my laptop, I began typing, Dear Internet family, today someone asked if I regret exposing the truth. Here's my answer. The only thing I regret is believing I deserve the abuse. So here's what I want you to know. Because the thing about family, sometimes letting go is the strongest way to hold on to yourself, and sometimes karma doesn't just need a push. It needs a witness, a voice, and a community brave enough to say, me too, I believe you, you're not alone. I hit post and smiled. The silence in my home wasn't just peaceful now. It was powerful.